And the sex, I've been blown into God with sex many times. And I've been fortunate because, man, if I had some good sex, I've had sex so good, Josh, probably at least 20 times that I have thought to myself, honestly, if I died right now, my life is complete, utterly complete.
So it's through these experiences, what I'm getting from you, that it's not that we need to know who exactly God is or even what created God, because if you're just
nothing
living
that creates God, that's a false concept.
Exactly. So if you're just living your life and you're doing the best to have an open heart, obviously that's just one key. There's many different keys.
Well, God is love, right? Love is the verb of God. So that you don't need words, because words are always circumscribing. When you use words, you're talking about. The word about means to go around something, but love goes into something. Like if I love you, you'll know it because you'll feel it. But if I just say, oh, I love you, Josh, you don't feel it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But when someone says, I love you, or acts with love towards you, it penetrates you to the core of your soul. You know you're being loved. So love is the verb of God. Anything else is a noun, and you cannot use nouns to describe God. And that's why there is so many problems with religion, because you got books full of descriptions of God. It's best to shut the fuck up and start loving. Sorry for the harsh expression.
Yeah.
But like I watch all this silliness, and first of all, to have a God experience gets you completely out of your head. But the more you start reading all this religion and memorizing this, the more you get trapped in your head. And if there's a dangerous place to live, it's in your head. And paradoxically, as many mystics have said, the longest journey you'll ever take is from your head to your heart, and it's only about a foot. And so the key point I'm trying to say is, anyone that wants to know what God is, just think about what it feels like to give love honestly and to receive love openly. And you have found God.
Yes.
And the more you do it, the more capable you are of it. That's why I begin my day every day with breathing God's unconditional love into my being. I visualize it filling my whole heart. I see this beautiful pattern in me, like a vortex of vibrant green light with silver in it. And it's just how it appears to me. And then as I exhale, I think the thought, I give God's love to all beings, and I just open my heart and pour it out of every cell of my body. And then I breathe it in. I breathe God's love into my being, and I visualize a centripetal force moving inward from every direction, like a sun sucking toward its center. And I get so high doing that. And I always get a smile on my face. And I like to start my day by remembering it's my job to make love. It's my responsibility to make love. Otherwise, you have to walk around expecting someone else to do it for you. And that's called a codependent relationship. That's exactly why Osho warned everyone. The beauty of love is that it never works. And what he was saying is, as long as you need someone else to take responsibility for making you feel loved, you are in a codependent relationship, and the day they stop doing it, you're not going to like them anymore. And that is what a child is. So I take it, my responsibility is to fill myself up with enough love so that I have enough to give away without feeling resentful that I'm loving you at the expense of loving me. If you want to get yourself breast cancer as a woman, just make yourself busy loving everybody else and tell yourself you're too busy loving everybody else to take care of yourself. And the day will come when you start resenting the very people you love. And the crystallization of that resent is often breast cancer.
Wow, there's so much there. So what came up for me when you were sharing was my grandfather.
Beautiful.
So
I love my grandfather.
I'll hold this right here. Mauro Joseph Padalino, and my son's middle name is Mauro.
Great.
He stopped me when I was like 11 or 12 in his house. He said, "Josh, you going to church?" And I said, "No, I don't like it. They speak in tongues and they're putting their hands up and it's just wild." And he said, "Well, why not?" And I said, "Because I don't believe in God. How could something be forever?" And he looked at me, and I'll never forget that. I'm 44, and it's like he's here with me right now. He said, "Well, the mind of man always wants to know that there's a beginning, middle, and end. But when it comes to God, that doesn't apply.
That's exactly right.
And I was like, oh my God, it hit me so hard. I didn't say anything. I just kind of, I was 12.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for it. But here I am, I'm 44 and I'm sharing this memory with you.
Yeah.
And so the way in which God utilizes people to get someone else closer to themselves, which is God, is so profound. It's so beautiful.
But wind up a bit. God does not utilize people. God is people. There's a difference.
Okay.
Because that idea puts God somewhere else, controlling you like a puppet and utilizing you like you fly a drone. God's your breath, your heartbeat. It's the movement of spirit. Your thoughts are spirit. Spirit is the flow of energy and information, which all comes from God. God is embodied in Josh. There is only one Josh Trent. As I've said before, there will never be another. Every single creation, there's no two sand pebbles alike, no two rocks alike, no two snowflakes alike. Even identical twins are not identical. That's scientific fact. No two trees are alike, no two plants, no two stars. God is dreaming itself into existence, because that for which there is no other cannot know anything else but itself. So the act of God looking into itself is what creates the sound of Om. That is how creation emerges. When God looks into itself and dreams and sees the other, it's God's own consciousness that animates the other. Just exactly what happens when you dream, to the T. Yogananda talks about this a lot. So does many mystics. And I am telling you from personal experience. The point is, as someone who's very skilled in dream analysis from many years of study and practice with patients for a long time, the first rule of dream analysis is that every character in the dream is an aspect of yourself until proven otherwise. So an example would be a prophetic dream. Like, lots of people had a dream they should not go to work the day before the Twin Towers went down, and they lived to tell about it. And when interviewed, I've watched interviews with them, many of them, they said it was such an intense dream that even though I normally don't pay stock in my dreams, I felt it so viscerally. I just knew I shouldn't go to work, and I'm alive to tell about it. Okay, so the act of God looking into its own dream and realizing Josh makes Josh become real. And it is God that is the subject of the object that becomes Josh. So when God says, Josh, I love you. You're amazing. You're the only one. And you acknowledge and say back to God, thank you, or even say to your mother, I love you. What you don't realize, and people don't realize, the subject in you that's listening to me right now is God inside of you pretending to be Josh. And what's looking at you right now in my eyes is the subject of God and me looking out and seeing a Josh. But my mind knows I'm not just looking at Josh, I'm looking at Josh as God. So the point I'm making is God does not use anybody, does not reach out and move people. God is in them, as them, breathing them, being them so fully with such great commitment that when we actually wake up to the truth of ourselves, it is just as shocking to God, because in Josh, there is no more God than Josh has figured out. And that's why they say God's favorite game to play is hide and go seek, because God's got all the time there will ever be. So there's no rush for God. What else is God going to do except explore itself? So God just dreams novelty into existence constantly and says, I'm going to be my turtles. I want to be a turtle. I want to be a crab. I want to be a star. But God's not actually sitting there going, God's dreaming. Dreaming comes before mind. You can dream without a mind. You dream when you're sound asleep at night. Your mind is gone. So the paradox of dreaming emerges from a non-dual reality. But when you have a lucid dream and you go, I'm dreaming. Oh, look at me. I'm in a fight with my girlfriend. I shouldn't do that. Or my wife. I shouldn't do that. Or, wow, there's me hugging my kids. Once you realize you're dreaming, you can then actually engage the dream and change the dream. That's why there's an entire practice in Buddhism of lucid dreaming. That's what they focus on. That's why Carl Jung focused so heavily on dreams. I've had countless experiences of being in a dream, realizing I was dreaming and saying, oh my God, I'm running from a dragon. I'm going to face that fucker and ask it why it's chasing me. And, wild stuff happens, like it'll just disappear. Or one time I was doing a lot of alchemy practices, and I was following an alchemical meditation written by a guy named Stephen Rosen. And it has to do with the different stages of awakening in alchemy. So this particular meditation I was doing, all of a sudden, I was in a sauna in Alaska on vacation, and I was in a real good state to go deep in meditation. And I first meditated for about a half an hour. Then I started to practice. And all of a sudden, I found myself walking in a jungle. And I was dressed in like a loincloth, like a native. And I heard movement, like something big. And I looked, and there was a snake that was so damn big, it scared the living hell out of me. It was black with red eyes, and it was massive, about 30 feet long and probably a body 4 or 5 feet wide. I mean, a snake as big as a school bus. And I was shocked. And this thing was coming right at me. And I said to my soul, my God, what do I do? It looks like it wants to eat me. And my soul said, let it eat you. I said, are you kidding? My soul said, let it eat you. You'll be surprised what happens. So I did. And so it came, and it had this huge fangs, and it opened its mouth, and it swallowed me. And I just floated up out of its body. Just like when I astral travel, or when I remote view, or when I do out-of-body work. I travel in my spirit body. And so it ate me, and I floated right up. And my soul said, now you know why you don't need to be afraid of death. Because the only thing it could eat, even if it was in the physical dimension with you, is your body. But what just floated out of that snake is what exactly is going to happen when you die.
Yes, this is why on the screen right now, we have the snake eating its tail.
Which is God.
And this is God, because God can only eat God.
There's nothing else for it to sustain itself with. There's a meaning to that, though. Let me quickly tell you.
Please.
If that snake overconsumes itself, it ceases to exist. If it underconsumes itself, it gets so big that it can never feed itself. So that snake symbolizes the Tao. Not too much. Don't eat too much, but don't eat too little. You eat too little, the snake starves to death and dies. You eat too much, it can't maintain itself.
So then could one say, would it be possible that God knows itself in unlimited ways by almost eating itself to death or starving itself to death?
God knows
would that be a reality?
In every possible way.
How would that be practical for us as human beings, souls inhabiting bodies, that wisdom?
The wisdom is that you're having a unique experience that nobody else is having. And as you grow spiritually, your awakening and your realization of what God is will astound you, and it will keep you so inspired to keep going, because you'll realize the more you understand about the magic and the mystery of God, the more magical and mysterious life becomes, and the more exciting it is to be alive. And then you'll get to the point where you realize that no matter what happens to your body, you will not die, and that this is an endless game. The only way that it can come to an end is nirvana, which technically means to blow out or extinguish. And this is why Rumi says you are not a drop of the ocean. You are the ocean in a drop. When your soul returns back to God, you become one with the absolute. And I've been right on the edge of that multiple times. The problem is you realize beyond a shadow of a doubt, you will never remember your family, your friends, your experiences, because you will become no thing and everything, and you will have no mind. You'll be in the state of pure dreaming, but there will be no differentiation between Paul and Josh, or Paul and Penny, or Paul and my children, or Paul and the universe. There will be no longer a subject-object. There will no longer be a mind. Mind is a duality. Dualities are created out of love. Love means relationship. So when God sees Josh in the dream, that's the first act of love between you and God. And when God knows that you see God, now information and energy is flowing between 2 points of sentience. That's what that qualifies mind. There's a difference between an information processor. A computer I can send information from my computer to yours, but those computers don't have a clue what those electrons are telling. They don't have any sense of meaning or knowing. A hose never knows the difference between water and wine going through it. It's just a hose, okay? So it's processing information, whatever's in the water, but it's not conscious of it, okay? Because of love creates and is experienced by sentient beings of all types, even microorganisms. So when I'm having a conversation with you right now, I am sentient, you're sentient, you're hearing my words, I'm hearing your words. Our words are affecting each of us. They're changing each of us.
Yes.
Right? So the act of love with conscious awareness is essentially what produces mind. And there is a third mind that's being created out of the combination right now. This is why Jesus says in the Bible, anytime two or more get together in my name, I, him representing God, will be there. It means anytime two or more get together in my name, there is a third being created out of the harmony of the two of you, the marriage of the two of you. And that being is guiding this conversation right now. So if you could see with advanced photographic imaging, which used to be Kirlian photography, but now they have other techniques, my aura and your aura are overlapping right now, and they're becoming one sphere, and the intelligence in that sphere is what Jung called the third, and that's what Jesus was speaking of when he said, whenever two or more get together in my name, I will be there. It means anytime two of us get together in an act of love, the third being that is the wisdom and the beauty and the consciousness of both of us merges into one that carries the wisdom of both of us and can guide us both to a greater realization. And that's the authentic purpose of a religious practice. You get together with people in the name of love to worship and to share your experiences and to share your pains and to lean on each other out of the real, genuine love and interest of supporting each other. And no matter how many of you there is, there's a being created out of all of you that is the wisdom of all of you, that is more intelligent, more wise, more capable, and more creative than any one of you or any two of you alone. And that's the third. And that is how God always makes sure that there's wisdom to guide.
Whoa. If you enjoyed that one you just saw, you will love this one on the screen. Click it and enjoy.